So I figured it's worth telling you blow by blow exactly what happened with the hour record, because the timing was good and bad. So the hour record has been a long time in the making for us, and we're working really hard, like Chanel and I, and then a much bigger team of people getting it together. Obviously we've known about it and our sponsors have known about it for a long time, but the first big day in the eyes of the public was the announcement day, and that was, and up till that point everything had been going superbly. I was hitting every number you might have seen on the Cycling Weekly or on my Strava. The numbers were good. I was doing consistent blocks of work at 400 watts in relative, not comfort, but not certainly nowhere near being on my limit. And the Tuesday that we announced the hour record, I had to do effectively a 10-mile TT, just to really kind of a test run, and it felt awful, just really, really awful. The power, I started at what I had hoped to achieve, which was around the 440 mark. Started at that, and then after a couple of minutes I was like, this is hard. I wasn't comfortable on the bike, just really fighting it rather than riding it. Ended up with 413, which was pretty disappointing, and an hour later the hour record was announced. So I was going through a feeling of like, okay, well, bad, and this is the first bad day. So I was like, a bad day's fine. It was just one. So we had a rest day the following day, which was the Wednesday, and then and I'd had a small cough, and the cough was as COVID sort of that dry, persistent cough just all day. But as a professional cyclist and as a guy that trains in Essex during the winter, it's when you're pushing yourself to the limit in the cold, damp climate of the UK, a winter cough is kind of something you just grin and bear, and it went after a day or two. So got back training again on the Thursday, and I was like, still just wasn't good. Was uncomfortable on the bike, was just achy, I was sleeping a lot.
Can I also interject here and say that it was around this time the hour record had been announced, and I was like, the gravity of it was maybe hitting you, because you were coming back off rides just really like frustrated and upset.
Well, yeah, but worried. I think worried that I wasn't, suddenly things had taken a turn, but also confused, because the week before I was confident that I was hitting every number needed to, well, you know, to give the record a real good run for its money, from what we sort of worked out that I needed to do. And then it was on the Friday that, again, Thursday was, I'd got the efforts done, but not good. Friday, the effort, it just didn't happen again. I was like, this is a worry, but we know it's there because it was there last week. It was the Friday night. And suddenly like interview requests were rolling in as well, and I was doing a couple of interviews. Each afternoon would be one or two interviews. And so in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm not hitting the numbers now, but I still need to talk like things are all going to plan and really real positive. So I just sort of focused on the week before. Anyway, the Friday, we'd been sent some non-alcoholic beers by Lucky Saint, and I had my first one, and honestly, it just tasted like fizzy water. I was like, oh, these aren't good.
But I thought they were great.
I thought they were great. I was like, these just don't taste right. And then that's when it sort of twigged in the back of my mind. I was like, oh, maybe I'm being paranoid, but maybe my taste is not where it should be. So I had a normal beer. I had a Moretti, which I'm quite used to the taste of, and that tasted the same. Just tasted like fizzy water. And I was like, okay, I don't know what's happening here, but there's some odd stuff going on. And then that's where I pieced it together. I was fatigued, I was sleeping a lot, and sleeping I was more tired than I thought I should be with the level of training I was doing, especially with how inconsistent that week had been. I was I'd had the day where I just had the cough, and then now I had my sense of taste had changed. Kind of paranoia setting or anxiety, and we were like, maybe it's nothing, but maybe it's not as well. I mean, like we'd not seen anyone. The UK was in relative lockdown, so like I think our only trip out was we'd gone to a supermarket twice, and otherwise I'd just been training hard. I could get a test done for the next day. There was a drive-in test centre just down the road. Went and did that, and I was like, it was very much like we will rule that out. And then Saturday's training was just okay, nothing special. Sunday I hopped on Zwift and did a Zwift race, and I was like, it was like 320 watt average. And I was like, this is just so much harder than it should be for 320 watts. And then it was Sunday night. I was doing an interview with the Essex Chronicle, saying like how excited I was for the hour record. Now everything was going to plan, even though it wasn't. And then came off the phone. Chanel had looked at me and said, "We've got some bad news. Your test has come back positive for COVID." So, kind of took a minute to work out what we were going to do. It was a Sunday evening, so kind of nothing was going to happen quickly. And I sort of knew then that we don't know what the long-term recovery looks like from COVID. I couldn't sacrifice. We knew it was going to be a case now of 10 days in isolation, whatever I wanted to do, and that's proper isolation, not allowed outside, not to go for a walk, not to go exercise, like nothing. You are inside, and the same went for Chanel.
Well, it's worth noting.
Chanel was for 14 days.
Because at that point I hadn't been tested. So.
Yeah, Chanel hadn't been tested. We got a test for Chanel. Interestingly, Chanel came back negative and still seems to be symptomless. And I spoke with my team doctors, spoke with team GB doctors, and we came to the conclusion quite quick that we couldn't, that hour record, that 55.089 kilometres, that's a huge ask by anyone. And maybe on December 12th I'll be fully recovered from this, but I couldn't afford to lose 10 days training in the build up to it. So it was early enough to postpone. All of the sponsors and my team were all very understanding of it, and also like you guys, the people that support and follow, the overriding concern was my health. So we've been 10 days inside. I feel quite good now. I think I certainly had a stuffy nose. You kind of just feel like you've got a mild cold. That seemed to have subsided. As of filming this, I'm allowed out tomorrow. Chanel's allowed out in 5 days' time. 4 days' time. And I'll step back into some light training. We'll get some further tests done because the virus does attack your respiratory system, and also heart. So I'll get some. Early December, we'll get some tests done up in Manchester just to see if there's any remaining damage. Because I trained as hard as I could for 5 days with the virus in me. So just want to make sure before we step back into some heavy training and prepare for next season. But with the hour record, we will go again, and it will be next year. In 2021, I can't tell you when, because we'd have to plan it with the team, plan it around racing, plan it around the possible hopeful Olympics. But everything was in place, so it'll be much easier to pick it up and do it again. But I just thank you to everyone for your well wishes, for your support, and look forward to doing this whenever we do it. I mean, I read an article in the news that Victor gave me a 50% chance of breaking the hour record, but I'm not sure he accounted for this being the 50% chance that I wouldn't break it. So, but no, Victor was one of the first to send me well wishes and say he was actually really looking forward to me attempting his record. So we are doing it still for haemophilia, and that will be the biggest thing around the hour record. Will be what we try and do for the haemophilia community worldwide. So it's I hope you'll all be still very much in support of that, and thank you to the Haemophilia Society and my own charity for just offering all the support they can, because it's going to be a cool event.